Alright, so it has been a minute since I've actually looked at this Learning Go by Example project, which is one that is probably personally one of my favorite because I really like the Go programming language. And in addition to that, it helps us all in terms of learning more about the basics of Go, which is something that is extremely important when one is programming. I think missing out on the fundamentals is something that can really negatively impact you as a programmer as you move forward into creating large-scale applications. So understanding the basics is something that I find extremely important. So one of the reasons why I haven't been looking at this, and you can see it's 3 months since the last commit, and that is because I've been focusing on the different projects. For example, the Fedorae components project, and also the Nux UI kit project or template. And one thing I must show as well as I'm here is that if we go to edu fedorae.com/edu, we should also see this updated configuring UI kit for better Nux.js support with automated script. So I actually created the update here for these where you can see how to create the UI kit update script and also using the template. So that's something that you can follow along with and also the video to use. So going back over here, just continuing back, we're looking at Golang. So we're gonna pretty much just copy this down or create a new repository basically. So we haven't been programming in Go on this machine just yet. So what I'm gonna do now is just to go ahead and make a directory in here called, well, we're gonna make a directory in the YouTube repository that we've been using, and I think projects, and I actually have to push the tag P projects, and then we're gonna create one called Go, because Go is the language that we're using for this tutorial here. So that's about it. And well, actually, we're going to also create source github.com. So we're giving it the same structure and edu Fedorae. So that's the structure that we're giving it for this. When we pull down the repositories, or when I pull down this repository, it's gonna be at go source github slash the username slash pretty much the same thing that we're seeing right here. And that's about it for the structure. Usually, what I had created before was that there was a Go folder right in the root of our folder structure. But for this one, it's not. We're not gonna do that. We're just gonna continue with this structure that we have here. So it's not a necessity that you have to use the Go inside of the root of your directory or folder structure. So what I want to do now is just to cd right into this, and then we can do a git clone of this repository here and do a press enter. Now we can pretty much cd into learning Go by example, and from here we can do a go run. It would be hello world like example. It would be, we can test the hello world, and then it should be hello world.go, and there you can see that it prints out the hello world because it's the one that is in there. We could actually cat what is in our hello world, which you guys already know. It's just the FMT print there. So for this video, what we're going to be pretty much looking at is the for looping structure. So Go pretty much only has one looping structure, which is the for, and you can basically uh, mix it around and play with it in different ways. So let's go ahead and create a folder in here called for, and let's cd into for, and we're gonna do a vim for.go. So pretty much just creating the repository at the same time. Let's import what we're going to need in here. So, well, first of all, let's initialize a package. So we're still in the main package. We're going to also import FMT or FUMT because we're going to be using that. And then let's create the main.go function, main entry point. And the first thing that we want to do is just to do a basic iteration. This is something that we can use with a pretty much a single condition, or pretty much the most basic one, the basic type. So let's do add I is equal to 1, or it could start at 0, and then we do our for, and pretty much our condition is going to be for 1 is less than, or I is less than 5, we are going to go ahead and print something out. So that's why we imported the FMT package. We're going to print the print line, and what we're going to print here is I for this example. And obviously, you know that we need to iterate, we need to increment this. So one thing we can do is just say I is equal to I plus 1, or we could use I plus plus to have syntactic sugar in this, which I prefer for this example. I'm gonna go ahead and write this and quit, and then do a go run for.go, and there we go. So it prints out from 1 to 5 there. So let's go ahead and vim this again. So this is basically with a single condition, and now we're going to look at one, basically a classical or a classic iteration where we have the initialization and the condition and the increment in one. So let's go ahead and basically just create a for again, and this time we're going to initialize the variable that we're going to be using to a certain value. So let's say 8 for this example, and we put a semicolon, and then we're going to put a condition as we usually do. So this is pretty much the same in pretty much all programming languages. The only thing that is different about this is that we do, for the most part, is that we don't enclose it in brackets. And then we're going to go ahead and do the increment J++ to increment it. And we could actually also, I think we could pretty much do +1 right here, and that should work as well. So let's go ahead and do a print of J. So print line, and we're gonna print, I'm actually gonna put this in quotes just to separate it. So I'm gonna say this is J, and in here this is going to be I. Let me just go ahead and put I, because I wanted to show the difference, because when it's looping, so this should only loop, I think, once. So let's go ahead, or twice actually. Let's go ahead and write that. Then we're gonna run, and we have an error. Let's see what I did wrong. Oh, I forgot to put the ++ here. My bad. Let's do that again. And there we go. So now you can see that it says from I equals 1 to 5, and then J from 8 to 9. So that's that. That relates to pretty much a classic for loop. So let's go ahead now and do another for loop, and this one is going to be one without a condition. So from time to time we may want to have a loop that just loops continually. So like a for without a condition, it pretty much loops repeatedly until there is a break statement there. So, or you could also have a return. So this is basically return the for, it stops it. So let's do a for, and when we do a for, it's basically saying for true, and it's just gonna continue. So if I do something like print line, and then we're going to say that we're looping, and we don't do anything here, I am going to pretty much just save this here. You're gonna see what happens. I may have to just kill it. So you can see that it's just continuing over and over. So I'm just gonna interrupt the signal. You can see that it was looping for a pretty good while until I interrupted the signal. So to stop this, what you'd pretty much do is to put a break statement here to stop it. So let's go ahead and do that. Then we can run, and it only loops once. Now let's go ahead and do our final loop, which is basically to continue this thing, or continue because we have break for one example. So we're going to do a continue. So for this one, we're going to initialize n to 0. So it's going to be like the classic loop. And while n is less than or equal to 5, or let's say 7 for this instance, what we're going to do is we're going to increment n, and then we're going to do something in here. So we're going to do a check, and we're going to see if n is going to return a 0 when we do a mod of 2 on the number that is presented. We are going to pretty much just continue to loop. So we're going to continue. If not, then we're going to pretty much print out. We're going to continue to loop if it's 0. If not, we're going to go ahead and print out the value for that number. So let's go ahead now and save this and go run. So you can see now that it prints 1, 3, 5, and 7. And this is because when we mod any of the other numbers that would have been there, 2, then it would have equal to, it would have been true. So the value here would have been true. So as a result, it would have just continued and it would not have done any printing. So when we hit 4, for example, when we mod it, it would have given us 0. So it just basically continued as well. And it just pretty much continues to the next iteration. So that is pretty much it for this tutorial. I'll pretty much ensure that I have this uploaded and also have some written information on it as well, which you guys should be able to check out on these tutorials as well. So that is pretty much it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.